Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Zara and today I'm going to be doing a run through of the books that I purchased in January. I bought a few books, quite a lot of them secondhand. I got a good mix as well of genres. So, I mean, obviously mostly some fantasy. That's not going to be surprising to anybody. But without further ado, let's jump right in. So the first book I'm actually going to mention is leftover from December. So my friend Angela bought me 2 books in December for Christmas, and one of the books that she ordered for me didn't come until a lot later into December, and that was after my December haul went up. So the book that she got me was the Book of the New Sun by Jean Wolfe. This is a very kind of classic sci-fi book. I'm very excited to pick it up. She also got me the Sci-Fi Masterworks edition, which I have a lot of Sci-Fi Masterworks editions and they just look stunning on my shelves. And so I'm very grateful for that one and I'm very excited to pick it up. It's a series that I've heard really great things about. The next book I got was Secondhand, and that was The Traitor God by Cameron Johnston. I went to my local secondhand bookshop and I saw it there for a couple of pounds, so I thought it would be a good idea to pick it up. I think it's a duology as well, which is always a nice surprise in fantasy. The next book I got was also a secondhand book. I got this, I think, online from somewhere, and that is The Journal of the Gun Years by Richard Matheson. It is a Western and it is set in the format of a diary, in the format of a journal, and I've heard really great things about it. I've heard it's very gritty, quite raw. It just gives you a look into what it means to be on the frontier. You guys know I like that stuff, so I'm excited to pick that up. It's also very small, so it's one that I could definitely fit in between some of my bigger reads. The next book I got was The Men of Ash and Shadow by H.L. Tinsley. This is also self-published, I believe. A couple of people were raving about it in the Slowly Read Discord server, and so I obviously had to pick it up. Those folks, I trust their opinions, and I really like the cover as well. It's great. The next 3 books that I got are part of the same trilogy. It is a trilogy that we all know and love, and that is the Lord of the Rings trilogy by J.R.R. Tolkien. There were some very specific editions that I was looking for, and that was the Ballantine Books editions from like the 80s, I think it was. And they are so stunning. The covers are absolutely beautiful, and I just had to get them. And they are the editions that I'm probably going to be reading when I eventually read that series this year. So I'm super excited. The thing I love about those editions are those are the editions that were published at the time of Tolkien being alive. There is a special foreword written by him in each of the books, and it just kind of makes it feel a little bit more magical. Not that it needs to feel more magical, but it adds a layer to it that makes it feel a bit extra special. So that was a great find. They're also, I've been looking for them for a while, and they go for a pretty large amount of money for the set of 3, and I was able to find it for a pretty decent price, so I was very happy about that as well. Next, we have The Mountains of Mourning by Lois Bujold, I don't know. I'm really sorry for butchering that name. But this is a novella and it's set in a much bigger world. I think it's the Vargosagan series. I know for a fact that I have said that wrong, and I'm embarrassed by the fact that I've said it wrong, but again, c'est la vie. And it is technically much further on in the series, but you can read it as a standalone novella before you get into the bigger series. I just wanted to get a sense of this author's writing because there's quite a few books that I want to read by this author, and it's a novella. I love novellas now, and I'm here for reading a much shorter book if I can to get a flavour of the author's writing. The next book I got was Heroes Die by Matthew Stover. Got to be one of the worst covers I've ever seen, but I've heard it's a fantastic book by, again, a couple of people that I really trust when it comes to their book opinions. And so I picked it up from Abe Books, and yeah, I'm excited to read this one this year. The next book I got was The Wolf and the Sheba by Morgan Stang. This is a book that was recommended to me by my friend Matt. It's, again, quite a short story, and he said that it gives you a good flavour of this author's writing, and that the characters feel very distinct. We all know that I love characters, if you've been watching my channel for a while, and so I'm always happy to read short books that are very character-centric. You can see a common theme here. Next book was Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke. This is a classic sci-fi book by a classic sci-fi author. I was trying to read it in January, but I hit a little bit of a reading slump in January after I'd read some pretty intense books, and I read like the first chapter and then I just stopped reading it. Nothing to do with the book, completely to do with me. but I am excited to pick this one up because I know it's like a quintessential sci-fi book. And next I got was Absalom by William Faulkner. I have never read any Faulkner and I'm curious, so I picked up Absalom because it was the book that they had in my local bookstore, and I'm excited to read it. I'm going to try and read it this year. I really want to read some Faulkner. I want to see how he compares to some of my other favourite authors in literature. Next, I got Call Me By Your Name by Andre Aciman. I don't know if I've said his surname right, but it is what it is. This is a really beautiful coming of age story, but I have actually read this book by now, and it was fantastic. It was really good, really heartwarming, very touching. It's just a really beautiful love story. Next I got was The Last Tycoon by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Very short book. I think it is the last book that Fitzgerald wrote before his death. It is actually incompleted. The fact that it's short and the fact that it's Fitzgerald and the fact that I think it is semi-autobiographical, I could be completely wrong, fascinates me. I think the book especially centers on the relationship between a man and his wife. I love those types of stories, and I think Fitzgerald does those types of stories exceptionally well. So I'm very excited to pick this book up. I think I'm going to love it. The next book I got, so you can see a little bit of theme here for the last couple of ones, is The Death of Ivan Ilyich and Other Stories by Leo Tolstoy. I have not read any of the Russian classical authors, and I really want to, but I want to start slowly rather than just going all in and reading some of the big heavyweight books that they've written. So I'm going to start getting used to their writing style, and then I'll start delving into some of the much larger tomes that they've all written. I'm very excited to read them. It's just, I want to get a flavour of their writing style before I make that very large commitment. This next bunch of books I got from a local bookstore that I went to in Oxford. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been staying at my family's house in Oxford, which is where I am originally from. We went to the local secondhand bookstore there, and I picked up a couple of books. So the first one was The Tales of the Alhambra by Washington Irving. I absolutely love Spain. Granada, to this day, is still one of the most beautiful cities that I have ever visited. Spain has a really interesting history. When Europe was going through the Dark Ages, Spain was actually going through its Spanish Renaissance, and it has this wonderful mixture of Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. There is this really wonderful melting pot of ideas. Islam in particular was at the forefront of a lot of that. A lot of people say that was the kind of beginning of an Islamic Spanish Renaissance, and I think that's really cool. It's not something that we're taught a lot about in Europe. Unfortunately, we like to write off certain periods of history when it means that we have to credit other people that don't look like us. I personally have been very interested in that period of history for a long time, because when I was at school learning about the Dark Ages and about how death rates were at an all-time high, unemployment was at an all-time high, the economies of a lot of the heavyweights in Europe were completely in the gutter. Spain here was this kind of shining beacon of light, and yet that doesn't seem to be talked about. And so I did a lot of my own reading about it. I did my own personal project on it when I was at school. And to this day, it's something that I'm deeply passionate about, as you can tell. And when I visited the Alhambra in Granada, I was completely blown away. And I hope one day I get to go back and visit again, because it is an absolutely stunning achievement of just incredible architecture, religion, and just intellectual thought and curiosity. That's what it represents to me. There is actually a statue of Washington Irving in Granada, which I actually have a picture of, funnily enough. And so I saw this and I thought, you know what, I want to pick it up. I'd like to relive it. And I'd like to see it from the perspective of somebody who saw it many, many years ago. So there we go. Sorry about that little aside, but it's something that I'm very passionate about, as you can probably tell. And that period of history in Spain is just fascinating to me. And I think it is one of those examples of where religion can actually work really well and work really harmoniously. Don't get me wrong, there's lots of downsides to religion, and I have my own perspectives on that. But to me, that time in history in that particular part of the world just shows to me how religion can play a role in progressing society forward. Anyway, I'm going to stop there. Next book I got was Patton by KJ Parker. This is the second book in the Scavenger Trilogy. I have also ordered books 1 and 3 recently, but I saw it there secondhand and I was like, yeah, I'm just going to get it, because why wouldn't I? Next books I got were books 2 and 3 in the Second Chronicles of the Thomas Covenant series. That is the One Tree and White Gold Wielder by Stephen Donaldson. I have the first book in that series already, and so I saw those for a couple of quid each, and I thought, you know what? This is a classic fantasy author. Might as well just get them and add to my collection. And then the next 3 books that I got were Cushiel's Justice, Cushiel's Mercy, and Cushiel's Scion by Jacqueline Carey. I think that's how you pronounce it. And this is the second trilogy set in the world of Phaedra. The first trilogy is Phaedra's Trilogy, which starts with Cushiel's Dart. I've also ordered those 3 books recently because I really want to get to them. I saw those all 3 and I just thought, you know what, I've heard so many good things about these books that I'm just going to pick them up and hopefully, you know, get to them eventually. The last purchase that I made was an audiobook, and that was Hellmouth by Giles Christian. It's like a 2.5 hour audiobook, and it's a really good taster of what Giles Christian can do. Really enjoyed it. Very kind of dark fantasy. The reason why I got it is because I was reading some other stuff and I just was not feeling anything on my TBR. And so a couple of people recommended it to me, so I picked it up. I wanted something short, and that's exactly what it was. So there we have it. Those are the books that I bought in January. I ordered a few more in January, but they still haven't arrived yet, so they will be in my February haul. Let me know if you have any of these books, and let me know if you purchased anything yourself in the month of Jan. But I'm going to leave it there. I hope you all have a lovely day, guys. Stay safe, take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.